Hello, it's LaShanya from over at Diamond Tax Solutions, and I hear you. You are so over all of my static posts, all of my resolutions, and all the advice I've been putting out there. And you want to know exactly what does she know about taxes? Well, I don't know. Maybe the 30 years that I've been in this industry doesn't say a lot. But I tell you what, I wanted to come on here tonight to just, first of all, say Happy New Year. I hope yours has gotten off to a great start. And I want to discuss something that I think is very relevant. We're at the beginning of a new year. Some of you already know who's going to do your taxes for you. Some of you are looking for possibly a new tax strategist or a new person to help you. And I wanted to give you some guidelines on how to select or to consider a new tax person or a tax person, period, okay? I know this might seem a little biased because I'm that person, but I really care about you. And again, after over 30 years in this industry, I've seen a lot. So I want to talk to you tonight and give you about 10 steps or 10 tips to consider, or things to consider when you are looking to have someone to handle some of the most important, or one of the most important responsibilities that you have in your life, and that's filing your taxes. Okay, so listen, I get it. Tax preparation is a commodity at this point. That means that you're just looking, the majority of us are just looking for who can do my taxes, get me the biggest refund, or if you know you're gonna owe, have me owe the least amount, and who can do it for the cheapest cost. And I get it, that's the mindset of most. But, I wanna talk to you, or I wanna talk to those of you who are looking for a little bit more than that. Now if you're a small business owner, you definitely should be seeking the services of someone that is qualified and that's really going to keep you on the right track, that's really going to give you the right advice to help you save. But the majority of us, or a large percentage of us, I guess I should say, are just, maybe W-2 filers, and you're just kind of, like I said, looking for the best bang for your buck. But even in that, guys, there are some things to consider, because I can't say it enough times how many things that I have seen, or how many experiences I have had in my over 30 years, whether it was when I was working for the big guys, or on my own practice here now for over 11 years. I have seen a lot. So I want to give you some basic things to consider when selecting a tax professional. First of all, you absolutely want to verify that person's credentials. Now, I know it, the CPAs, they are the big guys, they are your faves, and nothing wrong with that. I love CPAs. I've used their services in the past, but it's not always a CPA that you're going to need. You really need someone that's going to stay abreast of your tax laws. So your CPAs are definitely the cream of the crop. You also have what we call an enrolled agent, and an enrolled agent is someone that has actually is federally licensed. Okay, I'm working towards that credential. I should have had it a long time ago, but it does take time and a lot of studying. There's also a tax attorney, one that actually specializes and is capable of providing legal representation. And then you've got the AFSP participant, and that is where I am. And this is a person, first of all, did you know that tax preparers are no longer regulated, that anyone can do taxes? And I know that there's a lot of people, anybody and everybody's out there doing taxes. But some years ago, I believe it was back in 2010, there was a ruling that struck down tax professionals being regulated or being required to take continuing education courses. So really anybody can do taxes, but it doesn't mean that they know what's going on. But I am what we call an AFSP certified, or I'm sorry, participant. Let me scratch that word, certified. An ASFP participant, and that means that I voluntarily take over at least 18 hours. I usually fall around 20, anywhere from 20 to sometimes 30 hours of continuing education, because who would not want someone that knows what's going on, who's abreast of the laws, the changes, and the different things that are going on. It changes every year, guys. I'm almost afraid of tax season because of some of the things that are coming in. I don't say that to scare you. I'm just saying on the practitioner's part, there's so much that's going on out there. So you definitely want someone that is continuing their education. CPAs, enrolled agents, they do have requirements, but a tax professional, a tax advisor such as myself, is not required. But I do it because I care about you and I don't want anything coming back on me. So you also want to, so that's something you want to look for, their credentials. They should have some credentials behind their name. As an ASFP participant, my name is actually listed in the IRS's directory. So So if you go out there, you go to irs.gov, you put in LaShanya Young's name, you're going to find me there, because I, again, voluntarily take those hours because I want you to know that you are in good hands when you come over to Diamond Tax Solutions. Also, every paid tax professional should have what we call a PTIN number, a paid tax professional identification number. And I have seen so many people come in to me as new clients, and they've paid people or paid someone a lot of money to do their taxes, and they have no idea. And the biggest thing I usually see is self-prepared. When you pay someone to do your tax return, and if they mark that tax return as self-prepared, what they've done is actually made you liable for everything that's on that tax return. They marked it self-prepared so that there's no identifying information to trace back to them. So again, if the IRS comes calling, knocking at your door for an audit, you're going to be left holding the bag. So you should always use a professional. Every paid tax professional, whether you pay them $1 or whether you pay them $1,000 or whatever, they should have what is known as a PTIN number. All paid tax professionals must have this. Make sure you look for that, and make sure the bottom of your tax return does not say self-prepared if you didn't prepare it yourself. Also, you also should check your tax professional's history. There's so many sites out there. There's the Better Business Bureau, the State Board of Accountancies for our CPAs. You've got the IRS's enrollment for EAs that you can check out. And again, the IRS's website itself, where you can check out and you can look up tax professionals and look up their credentials to see what's going on out there, guys. Because remember, this is one of the most important parts of your life. I mean, it's your social security number, your date of birth, your bank accounts. Why give that into the hands of someone that's unscrupulous and not doing the right thing with your information and not protecting your information? And we'll talk about that a little bit later. So you definitely want to check the history, check out what's going on with that person to see if there's any bad thing, anything bad going on, and not to mention if they're even still around. You want to invalidate someone that has knowledge of the current laws, tying back into those hours that I take, at least 18 hours, to know what's going on with current tax laws. Ask your preparer, have they taken any continuing education? What do they know about recent tax law changes? I mean, we got like the 1099K reporting that's coming up. We've got all kinds of new deductions and things that are expiring in 2025. There's tax credit updates. They should know about this. So don't be afraid to ask your professional what they know about current law. It could save you some time and a lot of heartache. You also want to talk about fees. Fees should be transparent. Now, I know some of you are like, well, we call you and you say, well, you don't know. Well, I can't always just rattle off the top of my head, but I'm always willing to give someone a quote and be transparent about my fees if they ask, okay? So your fees are definitely something to think about, because I've seen people with a very basic return, a W-2 return. I've seen them come in and they paid $700, $800, $900. Now, if you are a small business owner, if you own a corporation, or if you have any type of complexity to your taxes, of course you can expect to pay more. But W-2 only filers, there should be some reason and there should be some sensibility to what you're paying to have your taxes done. I cannot plan another tax preparer's fee for them, but I do know I have seen some things that are really, really kind of strange. Let's be nice and say strange. So listen, ask your tax professional. If they can't be transparent and upfront with the fees, well, then you definitely want to be leery of that. On the lines of fees, your tax check or your tax refund, if you're entitled to one, is yours. A tax preparer should never negotiate your tax check for you. So what I mean by, I've had people to come in and they may have used a practitioner, and if they didn't have a bank account or if they couldn't pay, they deposited that tax person's or that client's money into their own personal account, took out their fees, and then released the rest of the money to the client. That is a big no-no. That is a federal violation. They are not, as tax preparers, we're bound to what we call Circular 230, and that is a big no-no. We are never to negotiate a client's tax check for them. Now, there are sources, or there are resources, or there are services that we may have as practitioners where we may use a third-party bank that will take those fees out for you. That's totally different. I'm talking about when a tax person a tax preparer prepares your check for you, or sorry, prepares your tax return for you, they put your money into their personal account. Then once the money is released from the IRS, they take out their fee and then give you the rest. Hopefully. I've had instances, I remember back when I worked with the other guys, girl came in just crying because she had been ripped off. You know, that had happened. That tax person put her money, her tax refund money, into their personal account and went back to Timbuktu. Okay, so never ever, no one should ever, a practitioner should not negotiate your tax refund for you unless they're using a third-party bank. Now let's talk about e-filing. Did you know that if a tax practitioner files more than 10 tax returns a year, they are required by IRS law or IRS ruling to e-file your tax return? I know we some of us are still stuck in those days where we don't trust computers and we're used to mailing in things, and there does come a time when the tax return does have to be mailed in. If you miss the e-filing cutoff, which this past year was November 30th, if you file after the e-filing cutoff, you have no choice but to mail that tax return in. But in general, you should e-file your tax return. E-filing is actually more secure. It actually, you know, gets your tax return to the IRS a lot sooner. You know, we've had COVID, we've had the after COVID, we've had COVID again, we've had all kinds of things going on, and the IRS is still in fact dealing with the delays that COVID presented or produced for them. So they're still working through you know, tons and tons of mailed in tax returns to a certain degree. So again, mailing in your tax return is actually the slowest way to get your refund, and sometimes there are other situations that make or present reasons for us to have to file our tax returns, such as if someone is claimed a dependent. So there's a lot of different reasons why a tax return would have to be mailed, but in general, guys, you want to find someone. All tax practitioners, paid practitioners, should be e-filing your tax returns. Okay, so now you also want to talk about this. Let's talk about year-round availability. Have you ever needed your tax preparer? I know, I hear you. You're always on vacation. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm here 6 months out of the year, and you guys have me. But yes, you're right. After that 6 months, I'm out of here, and I do take a lot of breaks. And it's not just leisure. A lot of that is the continuing ed that I talked about, where I'm going to seminars and learning. So, but in general, your tax professional should have year-round availability. It may not be always when you want them to be there, but their office should be there. You should not pull up to where you got your taxes done and they're no longer there. Well, now you got the pop-up shops and things. I know with some of the big brands, they do it inside the grocery stores and things like that, but at least they do have brick and mortar offices or locations or a hotline or something that you can call. But my point is, guys, your tax professional should have year-round availability. You should be able to reach back out to your tax professional or your tax advisor, tax strategist, whatever you call them, year-round for services. Okay, so that's important. You also want to talk about audit support. Now, this is something new, guys, for me. I have always offered audit support in the past, but it's been optional. So I'm giving you heads up. Those of you that are already my clients, it is going to be mandatory this year because of the certification that my firm is working towards. We will be including the audit protection. But listen, you should have, your tax advisor should have some type of audit support. Okay, we use a company, I'm not going to really put the name out there right now, not that they're not credible, but that's not the point. I'm not here to you know, get brownie points for them. But anyway, I do use a very reputable company that protects you, because audits, guys, are picking up. You know, for years now, the IRS has been very lax because they didn't have the manpower to, you know, do a lot of audits. I mean, they were still happening, but at a lot smaller rate. But guys, they're back on it. All right, my clients have heard me say that 83 billion that they're getting at the tune of about 8 billion a year. The first year they used the majority of that, from what I've understood, towards compliance. So that's why you're seeing those letters. Many of you, I remember looking up mid last year, early part of last year, and oh my God, I got like 50 letters, okay? Some of those, the majority of those clients I didn't even represent. I mean, they were from some years back, right? So I had about 50 letters, and I had to sort through all of those and to determine who was even still a client of mine. But that's why you've been seeing those letters now, because the IRS is back on their game. They're sending out those letters. The audits are picking up. So you should choose a firm that does have audit representation, whether the preparer or the CPA or whoever it is doing it, representing you themselves. And as an AFSP participant, I do have some limitations, meaning that I can represent the clients whose tax returns I prepared. So we won't get into all that, but listen, I do. And that's another reason why I'm making the audit support mandatory for my firm this year, because I don't have time to be caught up in a bunch of audits, okay? So listen, ask about audit support. Ask your preparer, are you gonna help me? If something happens and I get a letter from IRS, are you going to help me? All right, let's talk about data security, guys. Listen, we as a paid tax professional, I have to have what we call a WISP. It's a written information security plan, which basically talks about, God forbid, if something happened and there was a data breach in my office, I have a written plan as to what I need to do. But listen, that is so important, guys. That is something that as practitioners we should have as top priority, and it costs a lot of money sometimes to protect your information, okay? It should, right? So you should ask your practitioner about their data. How do are their systems encrypted? Do they have two-way authentication? So some of my clients are probably laughing now, because you'll see me in a minute like, oh shoot, let me go get my phone because I've got to unlock my computer, because I believe in protecting your information. I believe in keeping your information safe, okay? So data security, because we have got, and then being a financial, an office that's considered like a financial service, that means we've got a lot of sensitive information, at our fingertips. And, cyber criminals would love, to get a hold of that. So your practitioner should be protecting your information. You should be getting a privacy notice. You should know that your information, portals, I know most of you hate portals, but listen, those portals are there to protect you, because even the IRS has had some problems getting hacked. So those portals are there to protect your information, okay? You shouldn't be sending information, and I know some of you have been guilty of sending me information to my phone or, to some unsecured source. But guys, we have portals. Your practitioner should have a secure source, a secure way for you to get information over to them, and you need to use it because it's there for your safety, okay? All right, so last thing we want to talk about is just avoiding some general red flags. Listen, your tax return preparer should be signing your tax return. I cannot tell you how many times that I've gotten clients in that had their taxes prepared by someone else, and again, kind of talked about this early on, not a signature in sight, or it said self-prepared. Remember, if it says self-prepared and you paid someone, you are liable for everything that goes on that tax return. So the tax practitioner can be fined if they don't sign the tax return. Tax practitioners can be fined if they don't provide you a copy. That it can either be a hand copy, you get them both from here unless you choose one or the other. You also get a copy in your portal, okay? So these are some things, guys, that I really wanted to come and talk to you tonight about. I know we're in that busy season. Some of you have already made up your mind who you're going to use. I'm not even here to get more clients per se. I'm just here to educate you on what you should be looking for, some things that you should consider and check into, whether you've been going to your person for years or whether you just started going, guys. As tax practitioners, CPAs, or tax attorneys, whatever, AFSP participants such as myself, we all have major responsibilities to protect your information, to make sure that you know your rights. There are IRS publications out there. Did you know there's an IRS publication 1 that actually tells you what your rights are as a taxpayer? You've got IRS publication 17 that is kind of the big IRS umbrella, and there's like hundreds of other publications that specialize. But listen, guys, I just wanted you to have this information. I hope you're going to take take this information and really consider it. I'm actually going to put out there on my website, it should be up within the next couple of days, an actual checklist. It's a free gift, you know, just for watching, just for tuning in, and you'll be able to review these things in more detail that I've talked about. So listen, have a great night. I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm looking forward to those of you that are already my clients, and I am accepting new clients, a limited number, but I am accepting new clients. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And here's to the best tax season ever. I'll see you soon.